That's your purgatory.
That's your purgatory. Your purgatory is just constantly solving rat psychological issues. Enjoy. Or don't use copyrighted music. I know in, like, Cyberpunk 2, it was like you could turn nudity off and stuff that would, affect streaming.
Or just have no genitals.
Just smooth like a Ken doll? Yeah, do it. Go for it. Because I don't necessarily have a problem with people trying to, utilize mechanics in interesting ways or even game-breaking ways, but understand that if you try something game-breaking, it might not break in the way you're hoping, and It might break you, so... Alex, if you're asleep, are you alive or dead?
Catatonic, actually.
So you're in limbo?
Yes, but I cannot do limbo if I'm asleep.
This is true. Maybe they should rename that. It's very confusing.
To lim don't?
To lim don't. Absolutely. Anyway, hi everybody. Welcome to Total Pebble Knockdown. I'm Nathan.
I am Alex.
And welcome once again to the show where apparently we are currently alive and conscious and not in limbo. So, that's good.
Schrodinger's living state. I don't know.
Schrodinger's podcast. Okay. So first up on the show, we're going to do a delving deeper. And I had a subject that I wanted to talk about for a little while, but considering last week we were talking about something that happened on Critical Role, I figured that it would make sense to discuss it right now, which is what I'm calling afterlife. Because once upon a time, back on that old show we did, I talked a little bit about a game called Spiritfarer, which is a game that is kind of a cozy game. We'll get into that on another segment. But basically, you are ferrying people to the to the afterlife while they're in limbo. And I thought about how interesting it was to create narratives that happen basically after your characters have died. And so my thought process was, having had characters that ended up in extra-dimensional hell dimensions, etc., what actually happens with characters that die? I mean, obviously you could roll up a new character and you could continue the story that way, but let's say, as our namesake would be, that you have a Total Pebble Knockdown, and your entire party just dies. Why not try to figure out a way to actually continue that story?
And I think in a lot of cases you can.
Okay.
Again, that one of the big things would be what game you're playing, for instance.
Sure.
If you're playing a game where there's no gods, there's no afterlife, no spiritual stuff, that might be kind of hard to figure that one out. But if you're playing a game where supernatural is a thing, paranormal might be a thing, or, deities exist, well, that becomes a whole new realm of possibilities, literally.
Right. So the obvious ones would actually be like that there is like an afterlife in your world, or that there is some kind of spirit realm, and that your characters might go there either to try and figure out how to get back to the living world, or to try and continue their mission, but in a different way entirely.
I just want to say, I think it'd be really great if they're going to the afterlife to try and return to life.
Yeah.
What, you pull a Freaky Friday on everyone, and they come back to life in the wrong bodies.
Yeah, that's perfect. And then you have to switch character sheets around on them? Excellent.
For physical stats, yeah.
Yeah, that's great. I totally can't wait to see who gets to control Max. It'll be you.
Yeah.
And I'll have to do Hawksbane. Perfect. Yeah, when they actually get to another realm, though, I keep thinking about, like, okay, well, those stats, you mentioned the physical stats. Would your physical stats even matter at that point? You're in the afterlife.
Afterlife?
Yeah.
Probably not much.
Yeah.
I think it would be determinant of if you can affect anything in the other side, or if you can affect anything in the physical realm as a ghost or spirit, as it were.
Sure.
But even then, I think that would be more an extension of, like, willpower.
Okay. So at a certain point, then let's say like you had like willpower and reflexes and fortitude, if we're going a little old school.
Very old school.
Yeah, a little old school. But those, well, not if you're doing Pathfinder, they still have that. But those sort of things might be more useful, like your actual saving throws to determine how you deal with encounters. Those are derived from something, but still you might be looking at those particular stats instead. Or your skills. Your skills might also be useful in some of those regards. You could also take the basic stats that you have and just kind of reappropriate them a little bit. Like your strength or your dexterity or your constitution might determine a little bit more about like your strength of will, or your agility or your ability to avoid danger in situations when you get into a spirit realm. I don't know how it would change you from a character perspective, like how you roleplay your character. I would imagine that if you're playing a certain role, you would imagine that they are essentially the same if they were in a different kind of realm, so to speak.
Yeah. Mentally and everything, but I mean, if you are playing a physically intimidating character, then perhaps that is no longer something you can do.
Yeah, you can't really be a very imposing physical character when you're a disembodied spirit.
Yeah, for instance, if you went down the model of like what World of Warcraft Night Elves become when they die, they're a wisp. So but if you were a character and you were physically intimidating and you died and you're a wisp and you're like trying to intimidate someone and they're like, dude, you're a wisp.
It's not working for you. I could see like if your physical presence or maybe your charisma went into like a presence stat or something like that. But again, we're gonna have to shake things up entirely for your character development. I like the idea of things that you might do once you're dead, like things to do in the afterlife when you're dead. Just like, are we getting on the boat with Sharon? Are we going down the river?
Things to do in the afterlife checklist. Haunt the bad guy.
Okay, this is a good idea. I like this already. Okay. So if we have access to the physical world, what you go and do is you go and find the bad guy, and then you do the Ghost Master thing, a game only I have ever played, and you get into all of the objects around them, and you haunt them, and you try to scare the bejesus out of them. So therein lies your new quest. You might not be able to physically stop him, but you might scare him so badly that he trips on a banana peel and dies. So there's your new quest.
You just kill him through haunting him, and now you have to deal with him in the afterlife.
Oh, even better. And then he's in the afterlife with you. Now you're on even footing again. Perfect.
Yep. Nice.
So the only thing you really have to worry about in that case is like exorcists.
Yes. Clerics are your downfall.
Yeah. Hope he doesn't have a lot of clerics or some monastic order around in order to deal with you. There is also the other possibility that you could turn that into a story beat, and you could actually have the characters resurrected. I had this one idea because I thought to myself, ooh, it would be kind of fun if we were going into different kind of, almost science fiction-y territory with, maybe your fantasy, and you get down into like this laboratory, and it's like these regenerative vats that are all around you.
Are you going Kingdoms of Amalur on us?
Yeah, a little bit. Inspired lightly by Kingdoms of Amalur, and also BioShock, because the idea is that you have your characters that are down there, but if they do die, they electrocute themselves or something on a wet floor, or something like that. They end up waking up in vats with a little scientist going around and checking on them to see if they're awake, because this Lazarus program, essentially, that he's making, you have just become the new subjects in his little experiment. Yeah. and just kind of going, now this worked, but understand there's X number of life force that I can do from these vats, so I don't know if this is going to work again. But now if you could help me out, I might be able to, do this more in the future. Work this problem.
Well, I think one of the problems with that then becomes sort of one of the things we talked about last week with the Critical Role episode is that if you don't have death as a consequence,
yeah,
it takes away a lot of that tension.
Yeah. This is more of a mulligan situation of a very specific thing that's happening at that time. If you had a specific campaign where it was happening.
Sure. I more so like that, having to make a deal with like a devil or a demon or an angel or some otherworldly power to come back to life. Or having someone who lived have to make a bargain with someone very powerful to get you back to life.
So, in like a Dungeons & Dragons, there are actual demons. So... Yeah. I would imagine that there is the possibility that if you were to die, you could end up in some kind of a hell dimension.
Sure.
Which I kind of did anyway. But now, there's a whole story in itself, because one of the things that you might have to do in order to make a deal is that you have to defeat the demons that are down there before you can go back. I don't know if you have any physical presence when you get down there, or if you take on some kind of demonic qualities by being down there in the first place.
Depends on the plane you're on.
Yeah. I'm wondering, like, if you had, like, infernal characteristics or celestial characteristics, depending on where you end up.
Probably not, but they will affect you differently.
Okay. Excellent. Then the other...
Also, you're dead.
Oh, right. Also, you're dead, so who knows exactly what characteristics that you have. That's gonna really, mess up your dating profile, right? Like, 5'5", blonde, dead. Corpse. Yeah. Corpse. Not alive. Incorporeal. It's gonna be hard. You're swiping left on that. But at any rate, what was I saying? Something intelligent. In Spiritfarer, though, the whole mission is that you've died. It starts off, you're dead. Stella is dead, along with her little cat, Buttercup. And they meet characters that she knew when she was alive that are now anthropomorphic animals. And they are trying to resolve their issues before they can pass on into the afterlife proper, go through the spirit door and ascend. So the question is that something, like, if you had characters, your whole party dies, they're in this realm, is there the possibility, and this would get weird, I'm not gonna lie, where you have to try and resolve the issues of all the monsters that you previously killed that are now going to need your help, because otherwise they're now stuck here?
I think you could do something like that if you kept track of, say, intelligent enemies.
Oh, yeah.
Rather than just monsters, like unintelligent animals, beasts, magical creatures, aberrations.
Mm-hmm.
I think intelligent, you could probably get away with and do that. But you'd have to run a game where you didn't fight dozens and dozens of intelligent enemies, I think.
Okay. Maybe you could put a threshold on that, like, that it would have to be enemies with at least, like, an 8 in intelligence or something like that, so that you're not just totally... Otherwise, this is going to get really tricky if you went into that old classic tavern adventure of getting those rats in the basement.
Yeah, you killed 600 rats in town, and they all need your help now.
These rats need help resolving their personal issues of what it was like being on fire. They didn't like that very much. Now they have to figure that out. That's a lot. That's a lot for you to deal with. Resolving rat issues one at a time. I think that actually would be hell.
Yeah. That's your purgatory.
That's your purgatory. Your purgatory is just constantly solving rat psychological issues. Enjoy. Okay. So, in general, though, your thoughts. Should we bother trying to make, like, a new storyline, an afterlife storyline for characters, or just say, well, the party's dead, campaign over, let's move on?
I think that is definitely a conversation between your players and your games master. Whether they would like to try and do something while they are dead, essentially, or if they would all like to reroll new characters, what would make sense for your story and the plot. Maybe they're really connected to their characters, so maybe they will want to go through literal hell to get them back to life.
Yeah. One weird thing, since you were talking about the Freaky Friday idea, is the idea that they could go back, but they would be stuck in, like, the bodies of, like, your normal town guards. They wouldn't have, like, they'd have, like, those NPC classes we were talking about before.
Oh, great.
They just have those, or the companion characters. They'd be stuck in squirrels. They're just all squirrels now.
This has gone off the rails.
It's gone off the rails in a wonderful way because squirrels are involved. Anyway, so if anyone out there was interested in seeing your characters as just an entire group of regular squirrels, you let us know in the comments down below.
Not even a bardic troupe of chipmunks.
A bardic troupe of chipmunks?
Yeah.
Alvin,
no Alvin here.
Simon, Theodore. Next up on the show, we have a Games You Didn't Think We'd Play. And this is actually something for the whole TPK crew. Disney Dreamlight Valley.
In early access now.
In early access right now. In summary, Disney Dreamlight Valley is basically like your cozy game, your farming life sim, but obviously with Disney characters and Disney worlds and all of that good stuff.
And thankfully, it's not teamed up with Square Enix, so we're not getting any Kingdom Hearts bullshit in here.
No, this is not Kingdom Hearts related yet. Maybe we shouldn't say anything. Fingers crossed. There's no Sora in this.
The plot is 200 times less convoluted.
It is way less convoluted. I think it pretty much just starts with you falling asleep under a tree and ending up in Dreamlight Valley. And then them saying the forgetting is happening, and can you do something about it?
And then giving some little hints here and there at the beginning that are like, oh, this is easy to guess.
Yeah.
Plot story-wise, it doesn't seem that deep, but we're not playing it for the story, so that's fine.
Yeah, we're going to an enchanted land that also has your basic, like, kind of farming and, life simmy kind of things that you're doing, the cozy game stuff. Where, I'm getting rid of rocks in my yard and, pulling up some weeds and some, and cooking some things, doing some cooking, doing some mining, crafting, doing a lot of crafting, building things and putting furniture in your house. And all of that good, and all around the valley too. You can just put stuff everywhere.
Yeah, you can put stuff a lot of places. This is a game that is reminiscent of Animal Crossing.
It is, and I guess you'd probably say it was closer to Animal Crossing than even a Stardew Valley, because when I originally played it, especially because it was called Dreamlight Valley, I was like, oh, they're taking inspiration from Stardew. I feel, but. How does it compare to all of those? Well, we've played our fair share of games that are kind of like in this genre, and I was trying to figure out maybe how you feel it stacks up to those in terms of how it plays and what it tries to do from any of the other ones that you might have tried.
I've played a bunch of games like this and not enjoyed them as much. Mm-hmm. I'm hit or miss with cozy games, especially this kind of game, very often. Mm-hmm. Animal Crossing, for instance, I haven't really played much of, and I don't think I'd enjoy it as much.
Sure.
And I'm not a huge Disney file, so, Do I enjoy a Disney movie once in a while? Sure. Was Moana a great movie? Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Was WALL-E great? Yeah. Disney, Pixar tend to be great, but like I'm not one of those typical people. Not because I feel like Disney's pegged at a certain audience, but certain people do enjoy it more than others.
Sure. Sure.
One of my friends is just a Disney slut and just everything Disney all the time. And that's fine. And it's definitely geared at that group of people who enjoy that.
Mm-hmm.
But as a cozy game and a farming game and a crafting, I think it does a lot of things unoffensively.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think it does anything like super really... It's not like it breaks the mold. It doesn't really do anything new or unique.
It's safe.
It is definitely brand. It is brand safe.
It is brand safe, and it's safe in the choices that it makes.
Yes,
for the game.
Definitely made for all audiences, I believe.
Yeah,
but it's definitely safe.
I would say that kind of works to its credit and its detriment, because on the one hand, it's going to be very comfort foody for gaming. Like it's the kind of thing that you pick up and play and you're like, oh, I know what I'm getting, and you feel very, satisfied with the basic idea of it. But it also means that it's hard to tell you that it does anything particularly interesting that you would get anywhere else, like that you wouldn't get in any other kind of thing. So I've played my fair share of games like this. I was talking a little bit about Spiritfarer, but I've played farming games. I've played...
Yes, I've played a lot of farming games.
Yes, you played the farming simulator. But also, we both played a little bit of 100 Days, which is also...
Yep, I did play that entire storyline through.
It's not a long one.
It wasn't.
And it's not a very interesting one, but it's there. Yeah. But anyway, the concept was interesting.
Yes, the game was good, and for a free game, I got my money's worth.
Yeah, I got my money's worth for that one. No, definitely, it's an interesting one if you happen to have it. But the one that I'm most familiar with and the one that I liked the most was, of course, Stardew Valley. So I was going to be comparing this to that, and it's hard to do so because the elements are the same in a lot of ways. Oh, I have this house, and now I have to clean it up and clean up the yard and all of that stuff. In a lot of ways, Dreamlight, they're both valleys. It's uncanny. That's a whole other valley. But Dreamlight simplifies this to a degree that is both... that I'm, in one hand, very happy about, just because there's a lot of bullshit you don't have to do. But on the other hand, also simplifies it to the point where it doesn't really feel like I'm accomplishing anything really like important. Like, for instance, when I go and plant stuff, it's like, okay, you can just dig up the earth and you can plant these seeds and then water them. And you water them the once and you come back about 5 minutes later and it's all grown and you just pick it. In a Stardew Valley, what you would do is you'd plant your turnip and you'd water it every day for like 4 days or something like that. And then after that time, you'd pick it up, and then you could sell it, and hopefully you could buy some more seeds. There was like a time frame. You had to do it over a period of time. You had to manage it every day. You had to like get better at it. And in Dreamlight, they just kind of go, "No, just do it the once. It's fine." And then you just pick it up. I have
noticed for some of the plants that have longer time, because they do have like, I think tomatoes take like 25 minutes to grow.
Okay.
And sometimes you'll have to go out and water them a second time.
But here's the neat thing, is that you don't have to refill your watering can. It's the endless magical watering can.
Yes, everything is magical.
Everything is magical. If you were talking about a Stardew, I gotta go to a water source, I gotta fill up the can if it gets too low, and, you gotta be mindful of those things. It does ask more of you, as did, the other games that it was originally based on, and probably the ones that will come after it. Dreamlight simplifies that. You don't have to think about the item storage of all of it as much either, because they are just on a scroll wheel. They're just on an item select wheel.
I enjoy that. On item storage, I One thing I don't like, which is an issue with any of those games, is how large stacks of items can be.
50
I know
in this one.
Inventory management is a thing in these games, but I always feel like they should be up to 100.
Yeah.
Or you need to find a way, like, storage in it, you can make chests fairly easily, and I'm going to make a ton of chests. I have one on the beach, one in front of my house, another 2 across from that, where I'm putting flowers, food, materials, and then on the one on the beach is just for the food I'm growing on the beach, for instance.
Oh, sure.
So I'm making it so it's all nearby. But the thing I do like is that crafting, for instance, and making food, you don't have to have the items on your person.
Right, you can grab everything from the chest, so you can just put everything in the chest and it will take it from there. You do need the items on you if you're going to give items to someone.
Which makes sense, but I love that it's like, yeah, you've got these in a chest, we're just going to pull items from storage, and I'm like, yes, thank you, this is a quality of life thing, that is great, but then I'm like, but also, I would like to be able to carry more than 50 of these, or I should be able to store more than 50 in my chest. So, like, if you have a item limit on your person where you can only hold like 50 things of wheat in a stack and it makes a new stack, that's acceptable. But I would like the storage chest to be able to hold more in a stack.
Right. I would actually say that even when it's on your person, the stack should have been 99, and the only reason I say that is because it will let you buy from stores 99 items. And it's kind of like, guys, come on, realistically, you can let me buy 99, but it's going to take up 2 spots in my storage. That doesn't really make a ton of sense. I did like the ideas that, like, being able to actually grow. You were saying you were growing stuff on the beach. You can literally pretty much grow it whatever you want, wherever you want, build whatever you want, wherever you want in the valley, not just in your house, not just on your property, which I liked. That's kind of a neat idea because you're building out the whole village and you're putting down these different characters' houses and laying out the whole village. Neat stuff there. In the making things really simple, they do a different kind of mini game for fishing.
Which we talked about on a different episode.
Yeah, so we'll talk about how this fishing measures up, which is basically like you have button prompts where you have to push the button at a certain time, almost like a rhythm game.
It's just the timing.
It's just the timing, yeah. It's button prompts, your quick time event, essentially.
It's very simple, but it's not the same thing every time, Right. It's essentially the same thing, but the timing might be slightly different. So you can't just be like, oh yes, count it and press it. You've got to watch it, so. Right.
Also, based on another thing that we talked about, is the sleeping thing, is that you don't really do it at all. You don't fall asleep at any time. Energy is just you either eat something to recharge your spirit energy or whatever you have, or you just go to your house and you replenish it automatically. So that whole thing about falling asleep at 2 a.m. is a completely non-starter.
Which we also talked about.
Yes, we did. And so I think I'm good with that. I'm good with that as a change. I was good with having the 3-dimensional landscape instead of the overhead 2. It does get trapped a little sometimes, like it does this. Sometimes when it wants to do like a cinematic camera or something, all of a sudden it's way out there. Basic technical issues.
I would like to say, as a note, as we're talking about this, I looked on Steam and there was an update today. So.
Oh, okay. We'll see.
I'm not gonna read all the patch notes to you, but I did scan it really quickly, and the second thing there is a bug with the quest I was mentioning to you before we were recording.
Oh yeah.
And now that quest should be fixed, so I will no longer be soft locked on that.
For Wally.
Yeah, for Wally.
For Wally.
Excellent. I will not be Wallied out of Wally's quest.
Excellent. They do. At least at the start, they do kind of shoehorn you in a little bit for the landscape. I noticed that there were a lot of places where the forgetting, basically the big, dark, oozy stuff, had locked off different parts of the world. So you have the meadow, but then there's all those other interesting places you can. And you'd go there, and they would tell you what you would need to unlock it, but if you try to unlock it, it wouldn't let you, because you have to do these other quests first, so they hold your hand a little bit at the start.
Which is fine. Craeve, on the other hand, did decide to unlock the plateau, the Elven Graveyard, I think, first.
Oh, okay.
For the areas that you can do to see if she could.
Yes.
And you can't. But the story kind of stagnates for a minute because it's like, yeah, you should probably unlock the beach first.
Right.
It will let you do the other ones.
Got it.
You just don't get a progression in the main story.
Gotcha. Yeah. I was after I made friends with everybody, like, so I could get like a 5 in friend ratings. They were like, okay, I guess we gotta unlock the beach. I went and unlocked the beach, and I just got the forest. I unlocked the forest as well, of trust, or whatever they're calling it.
Forest of Valor.
Valor. That's right, the Forest of Valor, which is
Glade
good.
of Trust.
It's the Glade of Trust. Yeah, I have not gotten to that yet.
Aladdin should be there. Do you trust me?
Hi, Al. I can't wait to have the genie just show up. That would be great. I met Ursula, so that was great. I was having a good time with that. But so far, so good. I think that the concept was almost like a slam dunk for them. Because, you know, who's gonna enjoy having games like this? Probably Disney people. Like, Disney folks are probably gonna get a kick out of buying stuff from Scrooge McDuck and wandering around the landscape, mining stuff with Mickey. Like, it's gonna be fun, it's gonna be bright. And to their credit, they did make it bright and colorful and engaging, and it looks really nice. The soundtrack is obviously really nice because it's all the music from the movies and everything like that.
They do also, in the settings, I noticed they have an option to turn copyrighted music off for streaming.
They do. Smart.
Good. I enjoy that. Games should have that as often as possible.
Side note for any developer is that if you want people to actually stream your game, and you probably do because it's just great advertising, having people play these things, make sure that whatever you want them to do, there's a mode so that they can do that. Please. Thank you.
Either copyrighted music is replaced, or just don't use copyrighted music.
Or don't use copyrighted music. I know in, like, Cyberpunk 2, it was like you could turn nudity off and stuff that would, you know, affect streaming.
Or just have no genitals.
Just smooth like a Ken doll? Do it. Go for it. It's good. Hey, you know what? I'm pretty sure Dreamlight does not have any of those sliders, so that's something. Just in general, it is a much more streamlined version of a lot of the games that I've played in the past. It's not particularly dire. I haven't seen any combat. Some of the games will actually have dungeons or combat in some respect. This doesn't do that. I doubt
there will be combat. There doesn't seem to be another spot on the wheel for it.
No.
And Kingdom Hearts is also Disney and Square Enix, but it seems like just a Disney Pixar game. And generally speaking, those don't really have combat or violence.
No.
Sometimes they have violence, but they don't generally have, like...
There's not a lot of movies in the Disney genre that have, like, the big epic fight scenes in them.
Mulan.
That was the only one I was thinking about.
But also, if you would like to find out the death toll in Disney movies, Film Theory did a great video on that, or 2-part video.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. There's, WALL-E, however... Well, actually, no, now that I think about it, I think a lot of people actually did die in WALL-E. You just didn't... It was happened before the storyline.
Oh, I mean, yes. But also, you're eating people in WALL-E.
Sorry, what?
You're eating people.
This is Soylent Green now? WALL-E is a Soylent Green analog?
Yeah, I mean... Again, Film Theory, great YouTube channel with Matt Pat. Go watch it. I've got tons of Disney theories.
Man, that cute robot just got a lot less cute.
Well, it's not WALL-E himself. It's the humans that are drinking all this stuff. It's like, they don't really have plants.
Oh, yeah, screw them.
So how are they sustaining themselves?
Yeah.
It's like, well...
Right.
They got people.
Yeah.
So they're probably just eating people.
I mean, if you really want to think about it, Like, a lot of those Disney narratives, if you think about it really hard, are kind of disturbing. So, they're kind of disturbing. Sorry to tell you, folks. But Elsa can just freeze people, and then they just come back. I don't know about that.
It's fine.
She went off into the woods and started, like, trying to freeze the world. That's, a choice. Anywho, general impressions, liking it, not liking it, what do you think?
I am liking it. I'm glad that there's a patch that I'm going to have to read the notes on after we're done recording. I like that it's not, again, when we went over the energy stuff and having it force you to sleep, I'm glad it doesn't do that. It just lets me play, and I can get in. I don't have to do any quests. I can just grab someone and go farm materials and make money if I want to.
Yeah.
I think it is cozy and relaxing, and the only thing I would say is I hope there is more of a grander story at some point.
Yeah.
The forgetting thing is fine, and when you unlock the beach, you saw, spoiler, you saw some evil person's shoe leaving via a portal of a void or something like that.
Right.
So, like, there's something there. Another spoiler is it's you.
Okay.
You're the reason the forgetting happens. Pretty sure we've all figured that out at least the first 10 minutes of the game in. So I hope there is some other large plot there. I know it is a cozy game and it is just kind of a relaxing game, but it would be cool if there was some bigger narrative story or goal or plot than just Disney Pixar items and stuff.
That's true.
Which is, again, it's fine. It would just be cool.
Yeah, it would. On the one hand, like, I don't think it's going to be seen in maybe the long term as some of the better entries into the genre, but what I think it does do nicely is streamline a lot of things so that as an entry point that's not going to be overly difficult to get into, people are going to enjoy it for that. I like the fact that, like, speaking of which, since there is like a day-night cycle, but there are no timed events or anything like that, you don't have to worry about getting to something in a certain time frame. All the shops are open all the time. You can go to them all at any time. So a lot of that is nice because it just keeps you in the action. It's to the point, though, for me, where I'm sitting there kind of like going, is it going to start getting a little extraneous as to how much I have to do, where it's going to start feeling a little grindy to do the next thing and the thing after that? One of the reasons I say that is because when you get to the castle and you see those first few places that you can get into, and it's like, oh, this is how much dream dust or whatever the energy is. Dreamlight, that's right.
It's namesake.
Oh, right, Dreamlight, because that's the name of the game. Yeah, okay, cool. There should have been a pitch meeting for this. That'd be great. But anyway, so Dreamlight, you see the different levels that you go up, and then you look over to the left and you look over to the right and just go, oh my god, there's so many doors. There's just so many doors.
But that's good, because it's progression.
Yeah, it is. I think it was mostly like when Elsa said, like, hey, I need twine and I need iron or something like that, and I'm only on the second level, and I'm like, I don't think I can get those in this area. That's like a second or third area thing that I have to unlock. Yeah. So, yeah, there's that. But looks really nice. I like that they represented all of these different characters, and they're around the world, and you can lay out the whole thing. Cool stuff. And when you unlock those other areas, being able to put the houses down on the beach or put them into the forest, nice stuff, interesting. I think Disney was smart to do this. It seems like it's going to be a good fit for them to be in this genre. And I'll be interested to see what they do for improvements, because I do think that there's a little work that they can do maybe to flesh this out more over the course of time. But in terms of what they did initially, pretty good stuff. Worth playing if you like that kind of game.
worth checking out if you don't like that kind of game, but are curious maybe.
If you,
Also,
yeah,
fun side note is you can make a girl with a beard,
yes,
or a guy wearing a dress if you'd like. It
yeah.
is, would you call that inclusive, or just it doesn't make you pick a gender? You can do whatever the fuck you want.
It basically says that this is a body frame you can have, and this is a body frame that you can have. Or actually, they go through a lot of different body types that you can choose from, and then make your character from scratch. And then if you get a clothing item, you can just wear the clothing item.
Right. That's something I liked about New World, too. I could make a character be either body frame, and they could have whatever for hair, and facial hair, no facial hair if you wanted to. It didn't really matter.
Yeah. The funny thing I remember is that when I played Sunset Overdrive, which was that one game that Insomniac did that was insane before they did Spider-Man, but there's that whole thing at the beginning where if you're playing male, you can have the beard and everything, and if you're female, you don't. But you can change your gender in the middle of the game, and it will keep whatever facial hair you had. And I'm like, I found a workaround. So the back end of the game, I had a girl that had a beard. And I'm like, haha. And it's the same in the cutscenes, too. I figured out your puzzle, Insomniac. But no, in Dreamlight Valley, they don't care. And it's like, that's probably good. Do it. So anyway, if you've played it, please let us know. If you have some other recommendations for cozy games, because I do enjoy them myself, please let me know as well. I would be interested to know what you liked and why. In a Mechanically Speaking this week, I thought that I would bring up something that I talked briefly about on the last episode, which is the Coffeelock. Now,
something I will never be because I don't drink coffee.
You don't drink coffee anymore?
I've never drank coffee. I don't like it.
You don't like it? Is it against your religion?
Energy drinks.
Is it against Cthulhu? You're not allowed to because Cthulhu said no.
Just don't like coffee.
Don't like
Anyways,
coffee.
Coffeelock and loaded.
Yeah, Coffeelock. So, I thought it would be useful to actually go over what a Coffeelock is, which is basically
Please.
a little bit of a game-breaking thing that happened in Dungeons & Dragons and got a little attention. If you're looking for an animated spellbook, I'll try to link the Z-Best video. But basically, a Coffeelock is a multi-class sorcerer warlock built using flexible casting rules of the sorcerer in conjunction with the pact magic ability of the warlock. Okay, basic summary. Here's how it is. You reach level 2 warlock and level 2 sorcerer. Okay? You use flexible casting to turn warlock spell slots into sorcery points.
Okay.
Then you use flexible casting to turn sorcery points into spell slots. Then you take a short rest to refresh the warlock spell slots. Then you return to step 2 without taking a long rest. So, on a short rest, you'll get back your warlock spell slots. Flexible casting can turn them into sorcery points. Sorcery points can give you more spell slots. Short rest, you get your warlock spell slots back so that you can convert them into like sorcery spell points over and over again. And as long as you don't take a long rest where it would just reset your spell points altogether, you essentially can build yourself unlimited spell slots.
Okay, but now you're just resting all day.
Yes.
Back to back to back to back.
See, the thing about it is that rule is written, this would probably work, but in practice, I don't know if it would.
I mean, rules is written, yeah, but in practice, probably no. And then you're spending all day resting for like a half hour, no longer than an hour at a time, for like several times. So you're kind of spending all day short resting, which I would just classify as a long rest at that point.
Yeah, I understand. So Jeremy Crawford actually talked about this at one point.
That's great.
And he was asked, like, okay, the use case is you convert the warlock slots to source points, short rest, regain the warlock slots, turning a short rest asset to a long. And basically Jeremy Crawford said, yep, that works. Similarly, a paladin warlock can use warlock slots for divine smite. Warlocks have so many slots on so few slots on purpose.
Yes, so, they only have like 2 spell slots at level 5.
Yeah, they don't have a lot to work with. No. So at any rate, they're basically saying that, yeah, you can make that happen. I think that the problem would be is that if you consider that like a long rest is an 8-hour period, that if you're taking like 8 short rests, that should convert to just a long rest.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah. So
if you have players who would like to go, yeah, I want to do a short rest, but I want to do 8 short rests in a row, I'd look at them and go, yeah, no, that's just a long rest. You're sleeping or just doing nothing for 8 hours.
Right. I also think that there's a case to be made that at certain points, your characters would have to take some kind of long rest. I've seen some people suggest that, you might get levels of exhaustion if you don't do that. I have also noticed, too, that in those 1 D&D rules, I think they address this by saying that in a 24-hour period, characters would have to take a long rest, or that would incur penalties over the course of time.
That would make sense.
Yeah. So there are definitely workarounds to this, but if you take certain options in your D&D game and you ignore certain other options, this will work. But you have to have a specific number.
The trick is you need to take 4 hours of rest before midnight and 4 hours of rest after midnight every day. That way, you're getting your 8 hours split up into 2 parts, and you're not really getting a full 8-hour rest uninterrupted in one day.
Yeah.
One day. It's like Monday, you're not sleeping 8 hours in a row. You're sleeping 4 hours Sunday night, 4 hours Sunday morning, and then 4 hours Monday night.
Yeah.
Game the system.
Right. Another little thing that Jeremy Crawford put out there as a just something to think about was DMs. If you allow multiclassing in your game and someone is tempted to abuse the combination of flexible casting and pact magic, no. Remember this. One way to read the multiclass rules is that your pact magic slots are useless for any non-warlock thing besides casting spells. Which would mean that you couldn't use flexible casting to convert them into sorcery points.
Yeah, no, honestly, that would make more sense to me anyways. If it's magic from your pact, that is with your warlock class specifically.
Mm-hmm.
So, say, trying to convert something from your pact with your patron to, say, a warlock, a cleric spell slot or something like that, would be like, no, the cleric spells are given to them by divine stuff, not patrons. Kind of like that.
Yeah, I mean, from a narrative standpoint especially, it doesn't really make sense. Like, we're talking about purely mechanical things. From an actual design perspective, it doesn't really make sense that your warlock spell slots could be used for anything besides what your patron is telling you can do. Alright, so there is one other little thing about this worth noting.
One more thing,
yeah. About long rest rules. So from Xanathar's Guide to Everything, it states, going without a long rest. A long rest is never mandatory, but going without sleep does have its consequences. If you want to account for the effects of sleep deprivation on characters and creatures, use these rules. Whenever you end a 24-hour period without finishing a long rest, you must succeed on a DC 10 Constitution saving throw, or suffer 1 level of exhaustion. It becomes harder to fight off exhaustion if you stay awake for multiple days. After the first 24 hours, the DC increases for 5 for each consecutive 24-hour period without a long rest, and the DC resets to 10 when you finish a long rest. There is also the fact that if you avoid long rest, you can't recover spell slots above 5th level because of how they convert from sorcery points to... So, a couple real detrimental things, because that means by, like, day 3, you have to pass, like, a DC 20 Constitution. That's not going to be easy. And by day 4, good luck. We're at 25, 30. Those are hard spell slots to beat.
Day 7, you're just dead. You just die.
Day 7, you're gone. Yeah.
Because if you go without sleep for like a week, you're just like, you die.
Yeah.
Especially in real life.
Yeah. Those levels of exhaustion are going to really stack up fast if you aren't getting those saving throws. You better have a really good constitution and some massive inspiration. But I think in one D&D, like I was saying before, they literally were just like, yeah, you gotta take a long rest or there's gonna be problems. Like, straight up. But anyway, so there are some things you can do to rein that in if somebody tries the Coffeelock strategy. But I don't know. I say let them do it with some of these caveats included, because I don't necessarily have a problem with people trying to, utilize mechanics in interesting ways or even game-breaking ways, but understand that if you try something game-breaking, it might not break in the way you're hoping, and It might break you, so it might be worth trying. Have you ever heard about this?
No.
No.
This is the first time I've ever heard of a Coffeelock.
Yes. The reason, of course, it's called the Coffeelock is because you'd have to be staying awake for a really long...
All the caffeine you're getting from I'd be a monster lock at this point.
You'd be a monster lock, popping and locking and monstering. I think that there should be... I wonder if... In D&D, is coffee an actual item?
Probably.
They should make coffee an actual item, and then
Minor magical item.
Minor magical item. But if you drink it, you actually are unable to take rests for at least a 24-hour period.
That's broken.
But you also have to do the thing where you have to take a level of exhaustion automatically at the end of like a 5-hour period or something like that. Automatically. Because you get drowsy. Caffeine coma. I'm just kind of sad that it wasn't a tea lock.
I mean, they have tea in D&D. Why not?
Exactly. But, why did tea get shafted? Why coffee? Tea has caffeine, too. I don't know. I think that's bias against tea. And since I am currently wearing a Kermit shirt, Kermit is very, very upset at the moment that tea is not being fully represented in this scenario.
Sounds like it.
Yeah.
Don't spill the tea.
Anyway, if you have any experience with a Coffeelock that you'd like to share, or how you actually go about fixing this problem in the mechanical sense, please mechanically speak with us in our Discord or in the video down below. Comment below. So this has been yet another episode of Total Coffee Knockdown. And since we have drank all the coffee except Alex because he doesn't do that.
I do not.
Yeah. Okay, so fair enough. Alex, if folks out there would like to learn anything about coffee, where could they go on the internet?
Wikipedia.
Okay, fine. Go to Wikipedia. Okay, if they wanted to find anything more about mechanics and design of games, where could they go?
I assume you're trying to direct people to our website, which is totalpebbлекnockdown.com.
You would be correct in that assumption. Where did you think I was trying to take them to?
No, we don't necessarily just talk about mechanics and design specifically. We talk about whatever gaming related we want. So if you enjoy the things we do, we have a website, all our content's up there, or we have a Discord, which you can find the links for everywhere that you're looking at this right now.
All the places, all the time, you can click on those. Feel free to click on our Patreon banner while you're there. You will get full video episodes of the show that are going up before the individual episodes ever do, as well as the podcast, for that matter. And you can get a little bit of a preview of some of the extra things that we do on the website, some of the other shows, as well as the extras and the outtakes from this episode, stuff that we talk about off air. Well, I mean, technically it's on air, we just don't use it in the episode itself. So, you can also find us on every podcast app known to mankind. Please rate and review if you are on one of the apps that does so. And you can also find us on social media, and I am at Citanium.
I'm at EXP Limited, and our show is over at Pebble Knockdown.
So please follow us over there, and thank you for joining us on yet another episode of the show, this time discussing death and dreaming and coffee. In Dreamlight Valley, I think you can grow coffee? I want to say...
Maybe. I haven't gotten there yet. We'll find out later.
If we do, we'll let you know. We'll keep you posted. If we can. If we can create a Coffeelock in Dreamlight Valley, that's gonna be a thing. Luckily, I don't think the mechanics are that heavy to figure that. Anyway, thank you for joining us, and we will see you on the next episode. Goodbye for now.
Bye for now.